When you're looking out and you see the moon and you see the sun, and you see the planets, they're relatively close by. And the moon is about 240,000 miles away. The sun is probably 90 million miles away. But relatively, they're in our backyard, right? They're in our neighborhood. For deep sky astrophotography, well, the closest thing to us is Proxima Centauri. It's about 4 light years away. So a light year is the distance that light travels in 1 year. Light travels at 186,000 miles per second, times 60 seconds in a minute, times 60 minutes in an hour, times 24 hours in a day, times 365 days in a year, and you come up with a number just shy of 6 trillion miles, times 4. That puts you to Proxima Centauri. And that's the closest thing that you could see through deep sky imaging. Most of the targets I image are anywhere from 1,000 light years away to 30, 40, 50 million light years away.
That's crazy.
It's pretty far. My name is Lydell Nunn, and I'm an astrophotographer. An astrophotographer is anyone who takes pictures of the sky, right? If you take a picture of a sunset, you're an astrophotographer. If you try to capture a picture with your phone of the moon, you're an astrophotographer. I started stargazing very young. I was watching an episode of Nova, and they were describing how to find Orion the Hunter in the sky. And I was probably 10, 11 years old. After that point, I would always look up to see if I could see Orion. More recently, I regained my interest in astronomy from watching videos from the great courses. I took a course on the Hubble Space Telescope and another class on finding your way through the night sky. So I decided to get a telescope. My journey began with those first couple of nights of me going out and seeing the planets. And I thought what I was seeing was incredible. And I thought everybody should see this. But I recognized that not everybody has $700 that they can spend on a telescope. So I took my personal camera and I took very poor pictures of the moon and of Jupiter and of Saturn. That was probably in October of 2015. By Christmas time of 2015, I really decided what I wanted to do was what's called deep sky astrophotography. I jokingly say that if I wanted an expensive hobby, I would have bought a boat. In retrospect, I probably could have bought a boat for less money than I've invested in my gear. My initial setup was about $700. My Sea Star was $500. A good deep sky rig would probably cost somewhere in the neighborhood of $3,000 to $5,000.
So, this is the Wallingford Mac Observatory. It is an 8-foot dome made by a company called Next Dome.
I think you're going to put into this hobby what you can. You can take your cell phone outside and take pictures of the moon. And you can take pictures of stars. That's how you get started in the hobby. You don't have to spend thousands of dollars. You don't even have to spend hundreds of dollars. Use what you have. I can't emphasize that enough. The decision to build my own observatory was technically not made by me. It was born out of necessity. I was diagnosed in 2019 with Raynaud's phenomenon. So Raynaud's phenomenon has this tenet of creating poor circulation in your extremities, specifically fingers and toes. Unfortunately, twice I ended up with Raynaud's ulceration, which is similar to frostbite. So out of necessity and from the goodness of my wife's heart, I was able to build a permanent structure to house my equipment and be able to remote into the observatory. My observatory took about a weekend to build. I had a couple of buddies, they came by and I supplied the beer and they supplied some support and manual labor.
The dome is completely automated, so it goes to targets. It can open and close on its own. There are some safety features out here. First, I have 2 cameras. These basically monitor sky conditions, so I can log in if I'm away from home and I want to capture some images because it's clear here. The furthest I've done is I captured about 4 hours on the Andromeda Galaxy from a Ruth's Chris restaurant in Chicago. I'm looking at different galaxies. So our galaxy is the Milky Way. And there's Andromeda, there's the Pinwheel Galaxy, there's the Fireworks Galaxy, there's the Triangulum Galaxy. The farthest thing I've been able to see is a triplet of galaxies, and it sits at the belly of the constellation of Leo the Lion. It's literally called the Leo triplet, and they average about 36 light years, 36 million light years away from the Earth. The question most people want to know is aliens. So, do I believe aliens exist? Yes, I hope so. You know, if we're the most intelligent species in the universe, quite frankly, it's a waste of a perfectly good universe. There are trillions of galaxies, and those galaxies average hundreds of billions of stars each. There are more stars in our universe than there are grains of sand on every beach on the planet combined. My observatory allows me to create content and material that I can share with my community and promote space exploration and research and science and facts. So we typically have about 8 solar eclipses on the planet per year. Now, keep in mind that 75% of the planet's surface is covered by oceans, so access to these eclipses is not so common, and having them in the United States is even less so. The next time we will have an eclipse that touches the continental United States will be 2044. I mean, I'm 52 this year, so I don't think I'm gonna be traveling very far in 20 years. I am looking at either Dayton, Ohio, or Syracuse, New York. Although you may get clouded over. To the animals, it's nighttime for that 2 to 4 minutes. So they don't know the difference. So you'll hear crickets, you'll hear frogs, and then it gets about 10 degrees cooler. And also, just before totality, you're getting a lot of the sun's wavelengths blocked. So everything gets like a goldish tint around you. Regardless of where you are, you should be using the eclipse glasses prior to totality. Now, if you are in the path of totality, then once the moon is totally eclipsing the sun, then you can take your glasses off and you can look up. The 2017 eclipse, I packed my young sons up. We flew down to South Carolina. We were standing on the beach waiting for the shadow to come. And about 35, 40 minutes before totality, the clouds just rolled in. One of the other aspects of community is, friendships that are built. And since it's such an international community, there's almost always access to someone who could help you 24 hours a day. My suggestion to anyone who has an interest in starting in this hobby is start with the equipment you have. If you have a camera and lens, put those on the tripod, shoot star trails, do a long exposure and try to capture the Milky Way. These are things you can do with equipment that most of us have in our homes already. And that's the best way to get started in astrophotography. I've secured my master's degree in astronomy. I've become a NASA ambassador, and I get to do presentations to schools and community centers. And that wasn't what my motivation or inspiration were when I pointed my $700 camera at the moon 8 years ago. Now I couldn't imagine that not being a part of my life.